Good. Before we start today's sermon, as usual, let us take a moment to pay our homage to the Perfect One, our Lord Buddha, by chanting the Namaskara 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Permission from the Noble Triple Gym and my devotees. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope you had a good couple of weeks. I think unfortunately I couldn't conduct the sermon last week because I think we were on a plane to Canada, so it's difficult to do a sermon when you're on a flight. But I think 𝗬𝗲𝗬𝗰𝗍 kindly did the sermon last week, so I listened to the sermon. It's a good sermon. He gave a few pieces of advice, which is I think very crucial for all of you. So and the week before that you had Mahinda, so I listened to that sermon as well. And that was a bit. It was some kind of sermon. He did give. Might have felt a bit. How should I say it? It's a bit harsh, maybe, in a way. But it gave some very strong advice, and this is the thing, folks. So they are monks who are a lot more ahead of us in this game, let's say. And when you that's why, like, even Guru Thero sermons, if you were to listen to them now, and when you hear 𝗏𝗂𝗍𝗁 Thero sermons, especially 𝗏𝗂𝗍𝗁 sermons, it's very like the gap between, you probably feel like maybe the gap between you and them are slightly increasing, and because some of the things that they say might be very, it's kind of like a slap in the face kind of thing, some of the things that they say. But I think that is because what we have to understand by that is the reason why they say these things is because it's out of love, compassion, and love towards us. It's they don't have any malice in their comments. It's because they know the gravity of this. They know how hard it is to get this done. So that is why sometimes those advice can come across as a little bit, can feel a bit heavy, but actually that is how I mean, that's the truth, to be honest. And you kind of have to, like, don't take any of them personally. It's not personal criticism or anything like that. So it's just because the thing is, our common enemy is ignorance. Ignorance and attachment is our common enemy. So all of us are in this fight together to fight this common enemy. So please don't take any of the things we say personally. It's not to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not to, it's not to make us feel any better or anything like that. It's purely out of love and compassion, and because the job of a teacher is to pull us along with them. Kind of like, I often feel like Mahinda is like the kind of like the tow truck, and I'm the thing that's been towed. So that's how I feel, and that's the job of a teacher, to be fair. So sometimes I feel his pull is a bit too fierce at times, a bit too fast for my liking, because I like to come at a certain pace, and sometimes he pulls with so much force it feels a bit much. But that is sometimes what's required to kind of bring us out of our comfort zones, and because they want to see us make progress. Because when you guys make progress, we can do a lot more to the UK. So because most of you here are part of the teams that organize our events. So when you guys understand the Dhamma, you can do a lot more. to the community. So that is why our teachers, that's why they say the things they do and in the manner they do, because they want to get the point across to us. Because our, Mahinda sometimes he has to say the same thing about 3 times to me because I have a thick skull. He, he has to say the same thing thrice. So it's because, the other day I was thinking to myself that ignorance is a bit like, imagine, I don't know if you know too much about chess, but in chess you have these players who are called grandmasters. They are the best of the best. They are the elite when it comes to the game of chess. Imagine you're playing a game of chess against one of these guys. So the moment you make one move, he or she knows all your following moves. They know, okay, they're going to use this strategy. They're going to use, like when you move one piece, they know that, okay, so he or she is limited to these moves, these strategies, and they know all of it. All of the data comes to their head, and sometimes they might make us feel like we are beating them. Sometimes they might make us feel like we are winning, but so they will let us take a few of their pieces, but sooner rather than later they will land a killer blow, or they will checkmate us. Ignorance is a bit like that. Ignorance is when we make one move, ignorance is 10 moves ahead of us. So that's why at any time we shouldn't feel like we know the Dhamma. Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is we shouldn't get complacent in this endeavor, because the moment we become complacent, the moment we think we know everything, that is when we have lost. Like, ignorance will make you feel like you won or you are winning. Don't fall for that trap, like, because that is the way ignorance likes to play this game. It likes to trick us. It's been tricking us our entire lives, because when the truth is right in front of us, we fail to see it. So that is the reason why that is because ignorance is so strong. So that's why sometimes our ego, these things get in the way, because ignorance is so strong. So ignorance will make you feel like you're winning, but don't fall for that trap. It might make you feel like you know everything. Like, okay, it might make you feel like, okay, you don't need to go to detox your mind every week. You don't need to go to the 𝗬𝗵𝗱𝗲 program. It might tell you, okay, you don't need to listen to the 𝗬𝗂𝗶𝗃 sermons anymore. Like, it might tell you that, okay, you don't need to do it that much. Just relax now. And then you don't have to do as much merits as you used to, because you know this now, because 𝗕𝗏𝗏 doesn't need to do merits. So, you know what I mean? So, like, it can ignorance can lull you into a false sense of confidence. Be careful. Because a piece of advice our 𝗫𝗏𝗃 gave us when we first started this journey, when we were anagarikas, that advice was, Nibbana is everything you don't know. Nibbana is not what you know. It's not what you know. It's everything you don't know. And till this day, that's something I take very seriously. And it's so true, because every time I have a conversation with Mahinda Thero, one of our Theros, I realize I didn't know so much. Like, I realized, because the other day I was saying to Mahinda, we had a conversation and I understood something that I haven't before. And I said to him, so I've understood this, and I said to him, have I been lying to all these people for all this time? Because I haven't understood that before, and what I was saying wasn't completely true. And he said, no, that's not the case. That's normal. It's because as our understanding becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, we feel that, because you begin to understand the depth of it. So it's like it's quite normal to feel this way, to feel like, oh, I know something today that I didn't understand before. I know this to the extent that I haven't understood before. And that is when as you're making progress in the path, you realize that. So for example, maybe 6 months ago, how you understood cause and effect is probably a lot more now. You probably know it in a lot more depth. And you might feel like, what I've known 6 months ago was it a lie? I mean, it wasn't a lie. It's just your understanding have become deeper. So when it does, we do feel that way. But that's the way it is. So, you know, so always keep in your mind, Nibbana is everything we don't know. So is that attitude will keep you like pushing forward. It'll keep you it'll, motivate you to keep doing more merits and keep up what you're doing now, or if possible, do more. I mean, I know like you're all very busy, and I know we say ideally you should, listen to the Sunday sermon done by Mahinda Thero. You should come to the 𝗬𝗲 program. You should listen to these talks every week. I know practically it might be impossible for some of you, but if we want to make progress, that we have to put a lot of effort into this. Like attaining Nibbana, if it's one of your priorities, we can't treat this as a side hustle. If we are really serious about Nibbana, we can't treat this as a side hustle. This has to become your main hustle. You have to treat this like a full-time job. Like I remember when I was a lay person, I used to do trading, and one of the things that the professional traders used to say was that don't treat it as a part-time job. Like don't just look at one or two graphs for like 10-15 minutes and place a trade. No, you have to do your research, read the news, study the graphs, study all the patterns. You have to spend at least 2-3 hours a day looking at the graphs and then make the trade. So similarly, like attaining Nibbana requires even more of an effort, because it's the hardest thing that a mind can ever do. Because this is no joke. I mean, this is so hard. Because I know even as a high ordained monk, it's near enough impossible. So what I'm saying is that I'm not telling you to become ordained. I'm telling you to like have the mindset of a monk or a nun. Have that mindset. It doesn't matter what you wear. Your attire is not important. What you need is to change that mindset. If your mindset hasn't changed, if you still have a lay attitude, by that I mean when you're under pressure, if you're taking an action to release the pressure, like if you want to, let's say you go into your kitchen and you see a piece of cake, and when you're not hungry, if you're someone who eats the piece of cake, that means like you are taking an action to release the pressure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating the cake, but when you do it, we often do it because we don't have an answer to pressure, isn't it? Our answer is to have the cake. You know what I mean? So in that moment, what we should do is we should be patient and then apply the Dhamma, isn't it? So yeah, so sorry to go back on what I said. You shouldn't have the piece of cake in that moment. If you're not hungry, if your mind's under pressure at that point, not having the piece of cake is what you should do. But because we don't have a proper answer, because we can't bear the pain or the pressure, what we do oftentimes is we end up having the piece of cake. So this is the reason why it's very difficult to attain Nibbana when you are in a sort of like a lay environment, or when the environment isn't conducive to Nibbana. It's very difficult. So a domestic environment is very tough. I mean, most of you are lucky because your entire family is on this journey, and you guys can turn a house or flat into a mini monastery. So if you guys can do that, I think all of you should do that. Give yourselves the best chance. But I mean, it's very difficult. That's what I'm trying to say, because when the mind, because there are so many opportunities for the mind to feel under pressure, and when it does, we don't have the right answers. Whereas in the monastery, if I want to have, let's say, a piece of cake, I can't do that. If I'm really desperate, I have to go and seek permission from one of the Theros, and then he will refer me to someone else, and then to someone else. I have to, go around the entire monastery to get permission from few people. And by the time that's done, I don't want the piece of cake anymore. I'd rather go and sleep or something. So, like, we don't have that environment at home. When you want to have that piece of cake, there's no one. I mean, you are the boss, really. Or I mean, everybody has authority. No one's there to stop you. So you simply go and have it. What that does is that nourishes, that strengthens your ignorance even more. So that's why it's very, very, very tricky, very difficult when you are in a domestic environment, in a lay environment, to get this done. So let's have the mindset that Nibbana is everything we don't know, and stay motivated, and don't rest on your laurels. I know some of you have been listening to the Dhamma even longer than I am, and like, we might know the theory, and that's the other thing. Don't fall for it. Don't think that, oh, I know the theory now, which means I know everything. Like, I've known, like, there are monks out there who can preach the Dhamma really well, but they haven't understood it. You can see that by their actions. So just because someone is a good preacher, or just because you can preach Dhamma, maybe you can preach Dhamma, maybe you can explain the doctrine when we have these doctrine sessions. You might explain it like a monk. You might explain it better than we do, which is great. So which means, I mean, you're a good preacher, as in you have that skill, which is a hard skill to acquire. So kudos to you. That's great. But don't fool yourself into thinking that just because you can preach, or just because you can explain, that doesn't mean that you understood it. So don't be fooled. Always think that, no, I haven't understood. I am not a 𝗁𝗲𝗏 yet. Like, Mahinda mentioned how hard it is to become a 𝗁𝗲𝗏 or a stream mentor, which is the first milestone. I mean, the Guru Thero, I think last week, in the sermon that he conducts to the people who are residents of the monastery, he said becoming 𝗁𝗲𝗏 or stream mentor is the most difficult thing in the world. A lot of people who think they're 𝗁𝗲𝗏s, they're not. They are nowhere near it. So I hope none of you have this attitude. I certainly don't. You might think it from time to time. That's okay. Thinking happens. It's not your fault that these thoughts come across your minds. When they do, always think that, no, I'm not. I'm nowhere near it. You might be enlightened. You might be an arihant, but still think, because there's no way for us to confirm whether you're an arihant or not. So even if you are an arihant, still think, I'm not even 𝗁𝗲𝗏 yet, so I need to listen to the sermons. I need to do merits. So just, like, have that attitude. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that you might, because oftentimes when we think we achieved something, we haven't. And what that does is that now, and then we stop. And when we stop, and that's it. Or we might say something to the wrong person. We might have a go at someone who's actually made progress in the path, and what we refer to as 𝗬𝗲𝗏, isn't it? So if you were to criticize someone, if you were to criticize someone who's actually on the path or who's understood the Dhamma, then what that does is that is the end of your path. You will lose your mind, like quite literally. You will end up losing your mind. You will end up going to a psychic ward, and all of that will happen if you were to commit 𝗬𝗲𝗊. So, be very careful about that. So that's why never become confident, right? So one of the pieces of advice that Guru Thero gave us is that just because someone is junior to you, that doesn't mean, so let's say they could be a monk who came to the monastery. They came because they listened to one of my sermons, not Guru Thero's, not 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗏's. Let's say they listened to one of my sermons and they came to the monastery, and now they're ordained. And obviously, because they came after me, they're junior to me. Just because they're junior to me, that doesn't give me the right to talk to them like, they're worthless. What that does is that now I'm having a go at an Aryan. Like, you can't judge an Aryan by looking at them. I mean, it's not like an Aryan is, I don't know, fair-skinned, tall, I don't know, like, I mean, there's no, they come in all different shapes and sizes. You can't judge them by their physical appearance. So that's where, like, I know a lot of you organize our events, so like there could be Aryans amongst you. We don't know. So like, when you're working with each other, be careful. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm saying just be mindful. So because if you were to commit an 𝗬𝗏𝗊, trust me, you will go crazy. It has happened to a few people. I know. So I know personally that this has happened to a few people. So be very, very, very careful. Like, especially that's why when you guys use social media, be very careful, because they might post some stuff about monks and nuns and stuff that they're getting up to. It doesn't matter. Whatever they do, that's on them. Nature will punish them. You don't need to be the punisher, because the moment you get involved, the moment you like or comment or subscribe to those things, then you become the punisher, or you volunteer yourself to be the punisher, and you will get punished. Because let's say they posted that video, that post of a monk doing, I don't know, let's say drinking, for example, right? Or they're laying with a woman or whatever it is. It's online now. Let's say the incident happened yesterday and they posted it online today, and you commented, you comment, you say, oh, this guy should be disrobed, he should be in prison, whatever, we say that. Now, it's been a day since it has happened. Maybe during that the 24-hour period, maybe he listened to some Dhamma and he attained enlightenment. Who knows? Because to become enlightened, if they have the merits, all it takes is 4 chittas. You can have 4 chittas in less than a split second. I mean, in a second, you have about, what, like 1 million chittas. So now you're having a go at someone who is enlightened. So now you're definitely going to hell. I mean, never mind Nibbana, right? So that's why social media is a very, be very careful when it comes to social media. And who knows, it could be a fake. Like you can, I mean, technology is so advanced nowadays. I mean, you can create so many fake stuff, fake videos, fake photos. You can even fake their voice, like deep fake is, it's the big thing now. So that's why be very careful when it comes to these things. So like, don't say anything to anyone. Just, try to understand the Dhamma for yourself, and be smart. All right. Don't do anything that you regret, because if you were to make 𝗬𝗏𝗊, there's nothing we can do to help you fix it. Like, once you lose your mind, that's it. Like, there's no course correction there. Do you know what I mean? Like that is the end of the line for you. I mean, then you can do merits and chant Buddhaguna and stuff like that, but the road to recovery is a long road ahead. I mean, it's easier to recover a drug addict than someone who's committed 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏. So like, these things, be very careful. So don't, because I know like living in the UK, that's the other thing. You got to be very careful, because now that I've traveled to about 10, 12 countries, one of the things I notice about the UK is that I have this problem as well, is with the UK comes because there's this idea that back in the day, because of the Commonwealth and stuff like that, UK were the apex predators in the world. Because of this, like it's the Queen's country and all that kind of stuff, where English is from, all that kind of stuff. Because of this, because of all this status and stuff, like it induces our ego. Like ego is a big thing in the UK, and it might be, you might have a superiority complex, or oftentimes because of ego comes the inferiority complex, right? So we might think we don't have it, but we do. Probably most of us do. Like that's my issue as well. Inferiority complex. I mean, it comes from the environment. It's not your fault, because there's no you there. What's there is a mind. So being in that environment, naturally our egos, like I think out of all the countries I've been to, UK is a place where not people, I'd say minds are the most egotistic. Like it's inferiority complex. Like we feel like we are humble, but actually we are not. Like we have an inferiority complex, and to kind of like mask it, we try to act like really humble. I mean, if you're humble, you don't need to act it, isn't it? So like it's something that I'm working on as well. So like see if you have this issue as well. And I'm sure like a lot of people met in the UK, not you personally. It's a common issue in the UK. So like be very careful. Try to um you know try like always try to spot these defilements within you, because if you can identify these things yourself, then it saves. I mean, it's easier for you, because then you don't have to wait until somebody else points it out, and then so that you can work on these things by yourself. Yeah, I mean, if you need our help or teachers' help, obviously we're there to help you. But yeah, so like so keep these things in mind. So like, because it's like different countries have different, like some countries like I don't want to name names, but like some countries, their thing is lust. Karma is the biggest thing there, biggest issue there. For them, it's not the ego, because systems. There are some countries where system has humbled them so much that like there's no place for their ego, because so there are some countries where you can't get a professional job unless you know the language, unless you've studied in one of their unis. If you don't have a degree from that uni from their country, I mean, some countries you have to be there since high school, GCSEs, A levels, uni, and then and only then you can get a proper job. When I say proper, I mean a professional job. If you don't, then you can't do a professional job. So naturally, those people's their egos have been kind of like diminished. So, but for them, so those countries, lust is their biggest problem. So like it depends from country to country. So like UK, your part of the world, we feel it's ego. So again, what's there is a mind. There's no one there. So obviously, anicca dukkha anatta, like that's the nature of the world. So that means there's no fixed mindset there. There's no fixed temperament there. So we can change it. Yeah. So again, please don't take any of these things personally, because as I said, it's an issue that I have as well. It comes from the environment, because ignorance is something that comes from the environment, isn't it? Ignorance isn't something that comes from namagoto or data, or it's not something that's coming from the senses. Ignorance comes from the environment. So again, it's not your fault. Yeah. So keep these things in mind, and then let's work towards improving ourselves. That's it. And since it's a New Year's now, isn't it? It's nearly a month has gone, but I hope in all of your resolutions you've made, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, in your New Year's resolutions, make sure you have attaining Nibbana as one of the priorities. Like if it wasn't a priority last year, let's make sure it's a priority this year. Yeah, because if it's not a priority, then it won't get done. At least I know you might have you might be chasing a promotion this year. You might want to buy a house. But in those, at least in the top 3, try to have attaining Nibbana. I'm gonna, not even work towards it. Say, I'm gonna attain Nibbana this year. Because if it's in the top 3 at least, you will get some more meaningful work done towards it. You'll put a bit more effort into it than before. Because as we all know, the world has dukkha characteristic. Dukkha means obviously not suffering. Yeah, I hope all you know that. Dukkha means, if you were to break that word down, 𝗬𝗂𝗿. Du means a deficiency, or rather a necessity. Kaya means a collection. So basically, the way the world works is that when you create a necessity, then energy will come together. Or when you create a necessity, all the things that are relevant to make that necessity complete will happen. Like if you wanna bake a cake, right? The moment as you keep on reinforcing that idea in your mind, I wanna bake a cake. I wanna bake a cake. I really want to bake a cake. What that does is that drives the following actions. That thought will drive the following actions. So you will find a recipe online. You will go to the shops. You buy the ingredients. You come home, and then you bake it. So like the stronger the necessity, the higher the chances of that happening, or the quicker higher, and then the quicker the chances of that happening. So that's why, if you want to attain Nibbana, right, make sure you create that necessity in the mind. Keep reminding the mind that, okay, I have to attain Nibbana. So you create the necessity, and then you keep on increasing, i.e., it's kind of like motivating. That's why people like to listen to motivational talks, isn't it? Because that creates a necessity in the mind and it kind of, it's like if you're someone who wants to get rich, you watch one of these motivational talks done by a self-made millionaire, and when you listen to this talk, what it does is that it creates a necessity in the mind, and it really motivates you, which basically means it can bring that task, getting rich, it can bring it up on your list of priorities. It was maybe, I don't know, number 10 on the list. After listening to that talk, now it's come to the top 3. So likewise, what we have to do is, that's why we say, when you do merits, focus the merits towards Nibbana. So what that means is that you're creating that necessity in the mind. You're creating the necessity which will bring things together, i.e., that will make you do stuff towards it. So this is the way the world works. Like the moment you create a necessity, nature will fill that void, fill that gap, fill that necessity. Because that's how tornadoes happen. That's how hurricanes happen. That's why what you give is what you get. That's how that happens. Because when you give, you are creating a void here. And nature is completely balanced. In nature, like nature won't let an imbalance exist. Nature will always balance things. So now, when we know this theory, what we have to do is to create a necessity, and then nature will fill it. So attaining Nibbana, if that is your priority, one of your priorities, keep reminding the mind that, okay, I have to attain Nibbana this year. Somehow, it doesn't matter what. By hook or by crook, this year I'm gonna make significant progress. I'm gonna attain it. Like if it's coming to the monastery, whatever it may be, I'm gonna get that done. So because we are privileged to know how this works, how the world works, we can manipulate it the way we want, really. So that's why we say, like, offer the glass of water, do the Buddha puja, do all of those things, listen to the Dhamma daily, and contemplate, and you can create that necessity. So the reason why I brought this up about New Year's resolutions is that something else you could do. This came to me when, as a collective, we came up with this idea during a sermon I did for some teenagers. So if you're someone who feels like you don't have time during your day to listen to a sermon, to contemplate, to do items in the pratipada, in the practice, right? If you're someone who's struggling to find time, what you could do is review your entire day, and I'm sure you will find there are moments, there are times where you're wasting that time. Like, for example, something I used to do when I was there was that when I used to go to the toilet, I would take my phone with me. Yeah. So when I go to the toilet, I would take my phone with me, and going to the toilet, let's say, obviously, taking a dump, that takes like 2 minutes, right? But when you take your phone, what you're doing is you're there for like 20 minutes, because but 95% of the time you're on your phone, you're just scrolling, you're doom scrolling. And because the actual task you were meant to do, that took 5 minutes tops, right? So the rest of the 15 minutes, you're wasting it. So if you're someone who, so what we say is at least spend 15 minutes every day, sit in one place and contemplate the Dhamma. So if you're someone who's struggling to find 15 minutes, now there you go. Now you found the 15 minutes. So like document your day. So let's say you wake up at, I don't know, 6 in the morning, and then you go to the toilet, and you're there for, let's say, half an hour. And you realize that 15 minutes of that half an hour, i.e. half the time, you on your phone, right? For you to go to the toilet, have a shower, and do all that stuff, all that takes is 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Then you found, okay, so I'm wasting 15 minutes there. So to save those 15 minutes, what you should do is don't take the phone with you when you go to the bathroom. Leave the phone in your room, go to the bathroom, and then, because now there's no phone on you, so you're not going to scroll and stuff like that. So you do what you have to do, and then you come out. And now you saved yourself 15 minutes. So if you can go through your day like that, I can guarantee you can find at least half an hour. You probably find more time, to be fair. So, and don't give yourself the excuse of not having time, because that is not a valid excuse, ladies and gentlemen, because not having time means it's not a priority. Think about it, right? Like attaining Nibbana is not a priority for you. I mean, that's the cold truth. If you're someone who says, "Oh, I don't have time," that means simply it's not a priority. I think about it this way, like before you had kids, right? I know most of you here have kids. So before you have kids, Okay, let's say you probably had very busy schedules, because I know living in the UK, or especially in the bigger cities like in London, I mean, people do 2-3 jobs. You have to work pretty much 7 days a week. Both of you have to work, so no one has lots of free time. So everybody's schedules are packed. Let's say, so there's this couple, so they were really busy, and let's say after a little while they had a child. Okay, so this couple who had extremely busy schedules, they had a child. So now, are they going to say now, actually, we don't have time to look after this child. Let's I don't know, chuck him in the bin or something, and 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 not do anything because we don't have time. They don't do that, right? Like, they would find time somehow. They would move things around, cancel a few things, whatever it is, right? They would cancel the, I don't know, Netflix marathons, and then they would spend that time to look after the kid. So not having time is not a good excuse. If you have that excuse, that means you're not serious about Nibbana. I'm sorry to say it, but that's the truth. So, I mean, if you're someone who feels you genuinely don't have time, I'd say review your day. Maybe, review the week. So, like, document everything you do. So, let's say from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep, document everything you do. It might be painful, but again, if you want to attain Nibbana, like, you have to do this. Yeah. So go through your day and document how much time you're spending doing each task. See how you can see where you're wasting time. See how you can um, make certain things more efficient. So like right off the bat, in the morning. So what we discussed, when you go into the bathroom, don't take your phone with you, right? If it's music, if you want to listen to some music, then something I used to do was like I had a Bluetooth speaker, which I had in the bathroom. So if you really want to listen to music or something like that, or listen to bana, right? Connect your phone to the Bluetooth speaker, play something, and leave the phone outside and go inside and lock the door and then get the stuff done. So that minimizes you from touching your phone during that time. So that will save you some time. It will save you probably a good 15-20 minutes. I can assure you that, because I used to waste my time like that, and it's a bad habit that a lot of us have developed over the years. So I'm sure there are loads of opportunities like that for you to where you can find some time. Maybe you spend, like, when you're having a coffee or something, or when you're having a tea. Maybe to drink the tea it takes 5 minutes, but you're there having a conversation with someone for half an hour. So you can. I'm not saying don't have the conversation. I'd say it doesn't need to be for half an hour. Again, 15 minutes would do. So like that, maybe you can have your lunch a bit quicker. I know Guru Thero says to, bite each bite 30 times and then stuff. So still, I think you can save some time. So, stuff like that, really simple stuff. What I'm saying, it's not rocket science. So document your day and find that time, and I'm sure you can find yourself an extra half an hour or so, and which is more than enough time to do the bits that you are missing out on. Or if you want to improve on what you're doing now, you can, at that time, that will make things more. Because the thing is, to be mindfully aware, what we call vidarshana, right? You have to contemplate the Dhamma. You have to, what we call samatha, meaning that you have to prove these concepts to the mind over and over again. So to do that, it's easy if you can, if you're free from stuff. Like if you're doing something, like if you're, I don't know, if you're chopping up carrot and trying to contemplate the Dhamma, it's not going to work. It's very difficult. So eventually we want to get to a place where we can chop carrots or whatever you do, you can do it well. You can do that and then contemplate the Dhamma. But until you get there, to get yourself there, you have to first spend some time, sit down, and then stay still and contemplate. So like this is something that, so if we can dedicate at least, I mean, we have to spend at least 2 hours every day. If you can dedicate at least half an hour every day to sit in one place and take an example. I don't know, it could be a flame, it could be 12, it could be purple, whatever it is. Take an example and prove this concept. Prove it's an effect. If you can prove this to the mind over and over again, and then you can translate that understanding into into awareness. As in, the more you practice, you don't have to try to contemplate. You don't have to force yourself. It will happen. The next time you see something, you know, you will know that, okay, this is my mind, or this is mind. This is a mind. It's not, I'm not seeing an object. It will come to that point eventually. But to get there, for it to come to you like naturally or like automatically, you have to practice, isn't it? Like in sport, you have to, if you don't practice, like if it's cricket, if you don't practice your shots prior to the game, then you can't think during the game. Like, I know most of you are familiar with cricket. Like when you're out there batting, right? You probably played at least for fun. When you're batting, when they're throwing the ball at you, there's no time for you to think. I mean, especially if you're playing professionally, like when someone's bowling at 90 miles per hour, you have like fractions of a second to think or to react, really. So in fractions of a second, you can't think. You can't think, okay, it's gonna come here, so then I can place it over there, whatever. Like there's no time for you to think. You have to just react. So to know how to react correctly, you have to have practiced. So that's why Guru Thero is really reinforcing this idea that you have to sit in one place and then concentrate. Don't do anything else, just concentrate on this. And because otherwise, because like I was saying, ignorance is king. Ignorance is way ahead of us. So to beat ignorance, to even give ourselves a chance to beat it, we have to do that. We have to stay in one place, forget, like stop everything else, and purely just 100% concentrate, like zone into meditation, into understanding the truth using this example. So, you know, find yourself some time, you know, because this is your salvation. Like, again, if you want to attend Nibbana, if you're serious about it, or in other words, if you want to get to a state where you don't feel any pressure, no mental pressure, whatever happens, you're cool. If you wanna get there, what you have to do is you got to do these things. You got to, you know, put these ideas into action. Because when you do that, you can attain Nibbana. Because the thing is, attaining Nibbana is very difficult, but it's not impossible. It is possible, but we have to put, you know, all the free time that we have to put it into attaining Nibbana. Like, I know you have jobs and stuff like that, so I know you can't dedicate your entire life into this, which is fair enough. But any spare time you have, I'd say dedicate it towards this, or at least dedicate it towards, you know, working for the sasana, or to spread this Dhamma. Because what we realize is that the more we dedicate ourselves, the more we commit ourselves to this asana, the more we understand. Because if you're not committing yourselves towards this asana, that means, like, even when you can, but you decide not to, that means that sasana represents the truth, Nibbana represents the truth. If you're not willing to work for the truth, that means you're against the truth. If you're against the truth, that means you're on the side of ignorance. That means you believe the lie. If you're someone who believes the lie, if you're not committing yourselves to the sasana, if you're believing the lie, that means you're not going to attain nibbana. Simple as that. Well, it's the same with 𝗬𝗲𝗄𝗏. What you're doing is you're going against the truth. If you go against the truth, you will not understand the truth. So it's like you are placing a barrier for yourself, isn't it? So that's the thing. Because so there are 20 people here, or 19 excluding me. Most of you are in our organizing teams and stuff like that. So let me put it to you this way. Nibbana of the people in the UK rests on your hands. Nibbana of people in the UK, they rest on your hands. Why? Because you guys, it's through you that we can reach out to them. If you guys don't understand this Dhamma, if you don't try to understand it, if you guys can't work together as a team, then what you're doing is you are preventing the rest of the UK, I don't know, about 60 million people or so. You are taking Nibbana away from 60 million people. If you guys can't put your petty things to a side and work together. I'm not saying you have these things, but I'm saying, but I say this to pretty much, like when I do sermons to the Australians and to Italians, I tell this to them as well, that the Nibbana of everybody in your country rests on your hands, on your shoulders. So it's a big responsibility. I don't know, I don't know if you feel the same weight that I do, right? It's like it's a staggering responsibility that you have. So and with responsibility, it's a great chance of doing merits. That's a great amount of merits that you can acquire by doing this. So do your best to spread this Dhamma to everybody. Commit yourselves towards the sasana, because the more you commit, because when you're working for the sasana, what you're doing is you're fighting against ignorance. Why do I say that? Is because when you work together, you can't do what you want. When you're working with a bunch of people, when you are working for the sasana, you have to work with other people, which means that you have to make decisions that are best for everybody. So if you make 10 decisions as a group, 1 or 2 might be the decisions that you wanted. Rest of it, majority of it, is not something that you wanted. So what that does is that you will feel pressure. You will feel pressure. I mean, you should. So that gives you a great opportunity to apply the Dhamma. Because when your mind's under pressure, guys, that is when we especially in those moments, I think Mahinda will re-emphasize this point as well. When the mind is under pressure, you have to apply the Dhamma. If you avoid applying the Dhamma when the mind's under pressure, you will never attain Nibbana. For example, the reason why I say this is because do you remember when we used to be kids? We all learned to ride a bike, didn't we? So when we started off with the bike with the training wheels. We had the 4 wheels. So we kind of got used to the idea of pedaling, and then after that, they took off the training wheels, and then you had to learn how to balance the bike. So when we learned to balance the bike, we fell. We fell numerous times before we learned how to balance. So what would have happened if we were to give up during those moments when we were falling off repeatedly? If you were to give up, let's say you fell once and you gave up. If you were to give up, then you would never be able to ride the bike, isn't it? But you fell a few times, but you persevered, and you eventually learn how to ride a bike. Now, I don't know, I haven't ridden a bike for nearly 10 years now. If someone were to give me a bike, I can ride it. If someone were to give you a bike now, you can ride it. Why? Because you've been through the tough times, and even through the tough times, you try to learn it. You didn't avoid it. So same thing with Nibbana, folks. Like, you can apply this to your career. Like, you might have had really tough exams. If you were to avoid these exams, avoid those really tough job interviews, you would have never made it to where you are, isn't it? So same thing when it comes to Nibbana. So when the mind is under pressure, these are golden opportunities for us to apply the Dhamma. So do not avoid them. Apply the Dhamma to those moments and try to overcome them through the Dhamma. Not overcoming them in any other way, because that's not going to work. It's no point. Apply the Dhamma and try to understand how pressure comes. Because pressure comes because of ignorance and attachment. Whatever happens to you, if your mind's under pressure, it's because of ignorance and attachment. It's not because of the incident. The incident is neutral, isn't it? Because let's say, I don't know, you failed, I don't know, you didn't get the job that you wanted, i.e., you failed the job interview. If you feel under pressure, it's not because of that. Because let's say someone was forced into a job interview, and so they didn't want the job, so they were forced into this job interview. And if that person were to fail, they would be very happy. So failing the job interview is not what made you unhappy. Ignorance and attachment is what generated that feeling, because we failed to understand that this is a mind. Because everything that's happening to you, that's why we say, take an example. So let's take 1 and 2. So on a whiteboard, someone has written 1 and 2. So when we look at it, we feel 12, which is fair enough. Okay, feeling 12 is fine, but at the same time, there's another feeling, a formless feeling that comes through ignorance and attachment. Formless meaning arupi feeling. Formless feeling of fixedness, uniqueness. So that makes the 12 feeling. So initially it's just a feeling. 12 is just a feeling, but that formless feeling that comes through ignorance and attachment, that kind of fixes the 12, as in it makes the mind realize, or it fools the mind into thinking 12 is its own thing, because in reality it's just 1 and 2, and there's no 12. 1 and 2 didn't make 12. 12, that's a lie. There's no 12 there, because the thing is, even 1 and 2, we know there's 1 because of sight, isn't it? So color, i.e., color is a perception, isn't it? Because color is created in the mind. So bunch of color perceptions is 1. Again, 1 is not its own thing. 1 is basically color, isn't it? Which is created in the mind. It's not out there. 2 is also the same. Again, color. And 1 is being made, isn't it? Photons or light rays have to keep coming to the eye to keep on generating the effect of 1. Same thing has to happen with 2. So 1 is an effect, 2 is also an effect, and this combination, the combination of 2 effects, can't be something that's fixed. 2 effects can't make a constant thing or a fixed thing, an entity. The effect of 2 effects is again an effect. So 1 is an effect. So there was no real 1 there on the board. What's there is foreground elements. Foreground elements don't have color, right? Foreground elements don't have color. Vipaka don't have color. Foreground elements and vipaka together is the mind, isn't it? So there can't be color. You know what I mean? So as in color is not, sorry, we feel color, we see color, that's true, but it didn't come from the causes. So meaning that color is an illusion, really. As in we see color, but not because it exists out there. Color is just a manifestation, it's an effect. It's an illusion, right? So now bunch of colors together is one, bunch of colors together is two. Again, it didn't become two isn't a fixed thing, one isn't a fixed thing. They're being made, they're being created, and their combination, the combination of one, combination of two, that combination feels like 12. So the 12 feeling is 2. So 12 is an effect, and effect only happens in a mind, not out there. Out there is the reaction. Out there is 4 great elements. So out there is just 1 and 2. Because 1 and 2, when they are written closer together, generates the effect of 12 in the mind. So what's actually happening is that reaction. So 𝗵𝗵𝗃 is what's happening. 𝗵𝗵𝗃, i.e. causes coming together, reacting. That's what's happening. They don't make anything. They don't make something new. It's just a reaction. But that reaction generates an effect, i.e. a mind. And in the mind, it looks like something completely different, which is false, which is a fallacy. So 12 is false. It's a lie. That's not the truth. The truth it is 1 and 2. The thing is, we can't see. 𝗵𝗵𝗃 is not something we can see. That's something Lord Buddha saw with he has a special skill or knowledge called Anavarana Jnana, if I'm not mistaken. 𝗵𝗵𝗃, that's something only the Buddha saw. That's not something we can see, unfortunately. We can only experience the effect. So seeing is the effect. The senses, hearing, smell, touch, these are effects. And the interesting thing about effects is that the effect is not, or the characteristic, i.e. color, is not in the causes. So that means this is virtual reality, really. It's not what's actually going on. So we feel pressure because we haven't understood this. We feel like I failed the job interview. We feel like someone had a go at me. I was, it was injustice against me. That never happened. In reality, that never happened. I mean, in reality, it's energy moving about, vibrations, which created this story in a mind. And because anicca means it's constantly, what's really happening is that if you look at 1 and 2, it's constantly becoming and unbecoming. You can't say it became 12, so you can't say they created 12, and you can't say at the same time, you can't say they didn't create anything. So there is an effect, and it's constantly, it's becoming, but it never becomes a done deal. It's never a fixed 12. 12 is not done. It's being made, which means it's never done. It's a bit like, imagine, like if you were to go back to your childhood. Well, when I was a kid, my mom used to bake cakes, and so think about that process of baking a cake. So what's happening in real life is like becoming never becomes. So it's a bit like when you bake a cake, what you do is the initial process of bringing things together and you mixing it up, right? So like what's happening is that you're constantly mixing. That's all that's happening. You never you never put it into the oven and the cake doesn't come out, because you have to put the mixture into a tray and bake it for about 40 minutes, and then you have a cake, right? Conventionally speaking. But if you're constantly mixing things, if you're never putting it into the oven, that means then you can't say you baked a cake. You are in the process of baking a cake. You never baked it. It never became a cake. It's still batter, isn't it? It's still the mixture. So that's what's happening. So causes are coming together, but it gives this illusionary feeling that it's become something. So that's not true. So when someone's having a go at you, what you have to understand is that color is created in the mind, sound is also created in the mind, and the blame or that person didn't exist in color. The blame didn't come from, when what came to your ears were vibrations. Blame wasn't in the vibrations. The person wasn't in color, but that combination looks like someone having a go at you. I mean, what you feel, i.e. your body, that is also your mind, isn't it? That is again color, which is created in the mind, right? Is not in the, because what's actually here is energy of some sort that has no color, isn't it? So like that entire story, it's purely created in the mind. That never happened in real life. Because in real life, it's vibrations, atoms moving about here and there. Atoms, energy. That's what's happening in real life. The problem is we can't see the causes coming together. Now we can't see the causes basically. That's why, we take an example, a simple example, and that's why we try to prove it to ourselves. That's why if you like, thanks to scientists, we know the process of seeing. Light hits the object and then reflects off of it, comes to the eye. Eye absorbs whatever amount of energy it could, and then electrical signal gets sent to the brain, and then a mind. So at neither point, like neither point or neither causes or color, none of the causes created color by itself. Or color didn't come from either one of the causes. Like really prove this to yourself, right? Color wasn't in the four great elements. I mean, color wasn't in the combination of, if you're looking at me, let's say, color wasn't in, color isn't here. There's energy here, which has no color, isn't it? It's not in the light. It's not in the eye. It doesn't come from the eye. Because think about it. If color comes from the object, how come you see colors in your dreams? Think about it. When you are in a dream, when you're seeing a dream, we see color, don't we? Even in dreams, we see color. Maybe you might not be able to recall it now, but let's say maybe tonight you might see a dream, and then next morning think about this, right? In dreams, we see color, we hear sound, all the senses, like all these tactile sensations, all of these things happen. But in the dream, there's no object with us. If you're driving a car in a dream, you're not actually in a car, but you can still hear the engine revving, you can see the colors, you can feel the touch of the, I don't know, leather seats and then the steering wheel. You can, if it's a new car, you can feel the new car smell and all of that. So like, where did that come from? So if it's coming from the object, there's no way. So dream should be boring, like watching one of those like black and white movies, right? Dream should be like that, but no, right? In a dream, I mean, when you're in a dream, we can't say it's a dream. Like we can't tell dreams and reality apart. Like we say this is reality because we've been led to believe this is reality. But when you're in the dream, it feels like the reality. So think about this point. In the dream, you see color. All the senses happen as it does now. So if these things come from the object, or if these things are in the object, then there's no way that can happen during the dream. So that proves to us that objects don't really exist in the world. Objects are basically a combination. Objects are basically a combination of the senses. And it never becomes something. It's always becoming, never becomes. That's why it's not fixed. I think maybe next week, or if you remember in Guru Thero's sermons, he showed a picture of an electron, right? He showed a picture of an electron. If you can recall it, the same amount of energy that comes in goes out, isn't it? But, or at least, yeah, I think the same amount of energy that came out went out, but during that reaction, the middle bit, that stayed fixed. I mean, it didn't stay fixed. It looks like it stayed fixed. So like if you look at the, concentrate on the side, on the middle of the electron, there's a shape. That shape, it looks like it's remaining constantly, right? But it's not. It's basically, it's not staying still. I mean, it's not fixed. It looks fixed because the energy that goes out equals the energy that's coming in. So it's what we refer to as a dynamic equilibrium. So basically, so when you're looking at that animation, color is created in your mind, right? So if color is created in your mind, like, can we see electrons? No, right? So when you looked at that example, at that animation, did you see an electron or did you see your mind? You saw your mind, right? So that's how the mind is. Mind is like this, but it looks like this. It looks like the laptop is, looks like there's a laptop there, and it looks like it's the same laptop that's been there this entire time, hour and a half or so. But no, right? It's constantly, it's this, but it looks fixed because it's happening so quickly. Because colors are created so fast, it's a lot faster than our eyes can process it. So it looks still, but that's not the case. It's constantly becoming. That means if it's always becoming a laptop, that means it never became a laptop. So it just looks like a laptop, but it's actually not. So this world is a lookalike. It's not actually, or it's not actually what exists. Let's say the real world, the world of energy. So that means like whatever happens to you, like you can relax about it if you know the truth, because it never happened to you in the first place. It's just virtual reality. Reality is like, if something happens to you in a game, like you're not bothered, right? Because it doesn't bear any consequences in real life. So this is the same. Rathmalane knows it's a game. Rathmalane knows this is fake. That's why you can't, they will never be under pressure. So that's the thing, that's where we're trying to get to. But to get there, we have to prove to the mind that it's an effect. Like color, yes, we see color, but not because it exists out there. And it doesn't stay fixed. Because the moments of, when you look at the wall, when you look away, now, let's say you looked at me and then you looked at the wall. If color stays fixed, even when you're looking at the wall, you should still see me. But that doesn't happen, which means color isn't fixed, isn't it? So, like, the theory is very simple. Simple in the sense that, I mean, yeah, it's kind of simple, but it's very elusive. It's very difficult to comprehend because we are not used to thinking along these lines. So we're trying to re-engineer the mind. It's very difficult, but we have to try. Like, yes, you probably fell the first 10 times when you tried to ride the bicycle, but you kept at it, and now you've mastered it. So the same thing has to happen here. That's why it's a very tricky concept, this. It's simple, but it's very tricky. That's why I said, give yourself half an hour every day, sit down in one place and really concentrate. Take a simple example and then master it. Right? Feeling 12 is okay, but feeling it as a fixed 12, that is the problem. Because 12 didn't come from the 1, it didn't come from 2. So 12 is an illusion. Yeah. So really prove this to yourselves, and I mean, that's what we have to do. That is our task. And if you want to be free, that's what we have to do, whether we like it or not. So because eventually that is the exit point for everybody. Eventually it might not be this lifetime, it might be 1,000 Buddhas later, but either way, everybody has to everybody's exit point is this. There's no other way. So I think we talked about lots of you got some good advice today, and we talked a bit of Dhamma as well. So really, because the thing is, you guys know the Dhamma. I mean, I don't have to teach you the Dhamma too much. It's just all I need to do is to kind of like refresh your mind, your memories, and then if they were to discuss a different concept, I'll explain it to you during this talk. But really, you have enough knowledge to attain Nibbana. Only thing that needs to change now is your attitudes. Are your attitudes towards Nibbana? Because again, it's your Nibbana. It's not your wife's Nibbana. It's not like, like you can't expect your wife, your husband, your children to attain Nibbana. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to take responsibility for your own Nibbana. So help them, definitely, but make sure you get the job done, because you can't make other people attain Nibbana. Unfortunately, because if that's the case, then Lord Buddha will attain Nibbana on behalf of all of us. So then we wouldn't have to do anything. But the world isn't. it's not. It's not that fair. So yeah. So try. And what Guru Thero told us is that it's best to be on the right tracks, right road, and fail. Imagine you're trying to go to reach a destination. It's okay to, like, best thing to do is to be on the right road. And if you're failing, let's say you're trying to run but you're falling down, that is better than being on the wrong road and driving at 90 miles per hour, because you have to reverse. You have to come those, let's say, you have to track back those 90 miles. You have to come back, and then you know what I mean. So we are all on the right path. So if you believe our teachers, obviously, anicca, no one can disprove it. Jami, no one can say anicca is fake, is false. Anicca is true. It's true. That's the way the world is. So if we can accept it, that means we are on the right road. So it will be tough. We might fall, we might fail a few times, but that's okay. We're on the right road. So it's okay. Let's be on the right road. Let's fall down 7 times, but we'll get up the 8th time, and we'll keep going. Let's soldier on. But we got to make sure that come to the right side first. Come onto the right path, and then any progress is progress. You know what I mean? We might not be able to make progress at the rate that Guru Thero does, or 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Thero does, or Mahinda does, but if we can make some progress at the rate we can, that is still progress, because you're making progress on the right path, not on the wrong path. That's the thing. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you. 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Bless you.